You have $10 billion. You've sold the company, cashed out the stocks, transferred everything into liquid assets. And right now, you're sitting in a departure lounge in Boca Chica, Texas, holding a boarding pass that no human being has ever held before. A one-way ticket to Mars. Now, most people, when they imagine a billionaire on Mars, they picture the glamour, the dome, the view, the red horizon stretching out like a painting. But I want to talk about something nobody talks about: the bill. That number, that is a rough estimate of what your first year on Mars will actually cost you. Not to live well, to live at all. And by the end of this video, you will understand every single dollar of it. Let's go. Before you spend a single dollar on Mars, you have to get there. And getting there is where your spending begins, in the most expensive way imaginable: the ticket. Right now, Elon Musk has publicly stated that SpaceX's long-term goal is to bring the cost of a Mars ticket down to around $500,000 per person. Economy class, shared Starship, you're packed in with 99 other passengers, military-style bunks, communal bathrooms, 7 months of canned food. You are worth $10 billion. You are not flying economy. A private Starship charter, your own vehicle, your own crew, your own configuration, is estimated to cost between $80 million and $120 million per launch. We'll call it $100 million. That's your ticket. For context, that's what a mid-tier super yacht costs. Except with a super yacht, you can come back. Your luggage. Here's something the ticket price doesn't include. Every kilogram you bring to Mars costs money. Right now, SpaceX estimates cargo delivery to Mars at somewhere between $1,000 and $2,000 per kilogram, and that's optimistic, using future Starship economics. Current realistic estimates from aerospace engineers run closer to $10,000 per kilogram for the near-term missions. Your Rolex weighs about 150 grams. At $10,000 per kilogram, that's $1,500 just to bring your watch. Your MacBook Pro, about 1.4 kilograms. Call it $14,000 in shipping. A case of wine, 12 bottles, weighs roughly 15 kilograms, $150,000 to bring wine to Mars. You're starting to understand the problem. You're allowed, let's say, 500 kilograms of personal cargo on your private flight. Anything beyond that is billed separately, per kilo. Choose wisely. Because everything you don't bring, you either grow, manufacture, or pay to import later at the same rate. The journey itself, 7 months. That is how long you will be in transit, at minimum. The distance between Earth and Mars changes constantly as both planets orbit the Sun. Launch windows open roughly every 26 months, and the journey can range from 7 to 9 months depending on when you leave. During those 7 months, your ship needs to keep you alive. Food, water recycling, oxygen systems, radiation shielding, medical equipment. For a private flight with a small crew and full life support redundancy, the operational cost of the journey, fuel, mission control support, crew salaries, adds roughly $10 to $20 million on top of the charter price. You haven't landed yet. You've spent $120 million and you haven't even seen Mars through a window. You land. The hatch opens, not to fresh air, because there is no fresh air. Mars has an atmosphere that is 95% carbon dioxide. The pressure is less than 1% of Earth's. Without your suit, you'd be dead in under 2 minutes. But let's get to your new home, because this is where things get interesting. Real estate on Mars. Here's a legal puzzle that nobody has fully solved yet. Under the Outer Space Treaty of 1967, which most spacefaring nations have signed, no country can claim sovereignty over Mars. No nation owns it. But the treaty doesn't say anything about companies, and it doesn't say anything about individuals. SpaceX, in its terms and conditions for Starlink satellite service, already included a clause stating that for services provided on Mars, users agree that Mars will be governed by a self-governing set of principles, not Earth law. Legal scholars have called this a seed of Martian governance. What that means practically, if SpaceX sells you a lease on land, there's no court on Earth that can enforce it, and no court on Mars yet either. You're operating on trust and the power of whoever controls the infrastructure. That's a preview of the power dynamic we'll talk about later. File it away. For now, a prime plot near the main colony hub, say 1 square kilometer with access to the main transit tunnels and a favorable solar angle, could plausibly sell for $1 million to $5 million on early Mars. We'll call it $3 million. You are not moving into a finished apartment. You are moving into a construction site on another planet, and you are paying for every bolt. NASA's research into Mars habitats, specifically through programs like the CHAPA simulation and partnerships with Icon Construction, gives us real numbers to work with. A basic pressurized habitat module, manufactured on Earth and shipped to Mars, costs roughly $2 million to build before shipping. Add the cargo cost to get it there. A habitat module weighs several tons, easily $20 to $30 million in delivery costs alone. But you're a billionaire. You're not building a studio apartment. Your dome, 800 square meters of pressurized living space, triple redundant airlock, integrated greenhouse, private medical suite, staff quarters, a cupola observation room with a view of Olympus Mons on a clear day. Martian regolith 3D printed outer shell for radiation shielding on top. Total construction and delivery cost, conservatively, $50 to $80 million. We'll use $65 million. The monthly bill that will change how you think about money. Now we get to the number that truly separates Mars from everywhere else you've ever lived. On Earth, if you own a $50 million mansion in Beverly Hills, your monthly utilities, electricity, water, gas, internet, might run $15,000 to $20,000 a month. Expensive, but manageable. On Mars, your monthly utilities are not about comfort. They are about whether you wake up tomorrow. Let me walk you through the bill. Oxygen, $45,000 per month. Your habitat uses electrolysis, splitting water molecules into hydrogen and oxygen to generate breathable air. The system requires power, replacement parts, and a backup system that runs in parallel at all times, because a failure is not an inconvenience, it is death. NASA's MOXIE experiment on the Perseverance rover gave us real data on the energy costs of oxygen generation on Mars. For a small colony habitat, maintaining breathable atmosphere for 8 to 10 people runs roughly this figure. Water recycling and resupply, $28,000 per month. Mars has subsurface ice. We know this from orbital radar data. Early colonies will extract and purify it. But the purification systems are expensive to run and maintain. You'll also need periodic resupply from Earth shipments for certain minerals and compounds your recycling system can't recover. $28,000 covers system operation and a share of the next resupply mission's water cargo. Power, $60,000 per month. A micronuclear reactor, similar to the kilopower units NASA has been developing, is your primary power source. Solar panels exist as backup, but Mars receives about 43% less sunlight than Earth, and dust storms can last for months. The reactor lease, maintenance contract with the colony's engineering team, and fuel management, $60,000 a month. Internet, $8,000 per month. You have internet, but here's what you need to understand about Mars internet. There is a signal delay of between 3 and 22 minutes each way, depending on where Mars and Earth are in their orbits. You cannot make a phone call. You cannot do a video meeting in real time. Everything is asynchronous. Your connection to your Earth-based investment portfolio, your family, the outside world, it is like sending letters. Very expensive, very fast letters, but letters nonetheless. Food, $180,000 per month. This is the big one. Your dome greenhouse grows potatoes, lettuce, certain grains, but your diet will be severely limited by what Mars soil, even processed, can support. The rest is imported from Earth. Freeze-dried, vacuum-sealed, launched months ago. That $30 steak you enjoyed in Tokyo last year? Importing that cut of beef to Mars costs roughly $30,000 per kilogram of weight, all in. You will eat simply, or you will pay obscenely. $180,000 covers a full household of 10 people with a mix of greenhouse-grown and importing food. Medical, $95,000 per month. There is no hospital on Mars. There is no ambulance. There is no doctor you can drive to. There is your doctor, the one you brought, and your medical suite, and a 7-month evacuation timeline if something goes seriously wrong. $95,000 covers your on-staff physician's retainer, consumable medical supplies, and a portion of the emergency evacuation fund you've set aside because you are not naive. $416,000 per month just to not die. That is more than most people earn in 5 years, every single month, just keeping the lights on and the air breathable. All right, you're alive. You have oxygen, water, power, food. Now, what does a billionaire actually do on Mars? Your staff. On Earth, running a billionaire-tier household requires staff, a personal assistant, a chef, a doctor, a driver, security. You pay well and people apply. There's always someone willing to take the job. On Mars, you cannot post a LinkedIn job listing and get 200 applicants. Every person you want on your team has to make a decision that no amount of money makes simple. Leave Earth. Permanently. Leave their family, their culture, their home planet forever, or at minimum for years, given that return trips depend on launch windows every 26 months. So you pay enormously. Your personal physician, $3 million per year. This is not negotiable. They are keeping you alive in an environment with 50 times Earth's radiation exposure, bone density loss from lower gravity, cardiovascular changes your body was not designed for. Your dome engineer, the person who makes sure your habitat doesn't catastrophically fail, $2 million per year. You will never underpay this person. Your chef, $2 million per year. You need someone who can make freeze-dried protein and hydroponic lettuce feel like a meal worth living for. Your personal assistant, $1.5 million per year. Security, 2 staff members, $1.5 million each per year. Total staff cost, approximately $11.5 million per year. And here's the thing nobody tells you. They still resent you a little, because you chose to leave Earth. They came because you paid them to. That is a very different relationship than the one you had with your PA in San Francisco. Entertainment, the billionaire problem. Let's talk about what you do for fun. On Earth, the billionaire lifestyle has a very clear script. Super yacht in the Mediterranean, private jet to Aspen, box seats at the World Cup, tables at restaurants that don't have menus. On Mars, none of that exists. There is no ocean, there is no ski slope, there is no stadium, there are no restaurants, there is no nightlife, there is no art scene, no fashion week, no film festival. What there is the view. Mars has the largest volcano in the solar system, Olympus Mons. It's 3 times the height of Mount Everest. On a clear day, from the right position, you can see it on the horizon. Valles Marineris, the canyon system, makes the Grand Canyon look like a ditch. It's 4,000 kilometers long and 7 kilometers deep. The sunsets on Mars are blue, not orange and red like Earth. The dust scatters light differently. Blue sunsets over a rust-red world. That is what your money buys you for entertainment. The most beautiful, alien, untouched landscape any human has ever had the privilege of staring at. And honestly, that might be worth more than the yacht. But you will also spend money on entertainment imports, films, music, books, VR environments. You'll commission custom content from Earth, digital concerts, exclusive series, and wait 3 weeks for it to download. Budget $500,000 per year for entertainment infrastructure and content licensing. The luxury paradox. Here's something that will genuinely surprise you when you get there. On Mars, the status symbols are completely different. On Earth, you signal wealth with size, the biggest house, the fastest car, the most exclusive club. On Mars, the status signals are the size of your greenhouse, the thickness of your radiation shielding, the proximity of your dome to the colony's main hub, and most importantly, whether you have your own independent power source. Wealth on Mars means independence from the colony's shared infrastructure. Every meter of independence you can buy is real, tangible status. A Tesla Roadster on Mars would cost approximately $50 million to ship. Elon Musk already launched one into space in 2018 as a payload test. In Mars's lower gravity, 38% of Earth's, it would drive like a completely different vehicle. Probably unstable at speed. Wildly fun, probably. Completely pointless. But if you're the only person on Mars with a car, you're the most interesting person at the colony. I need to tell you something about your money that you haven't considered yet. On Earth, $10 billion makes you one of the most powerful people in any room you enter. Governments take your calls, cities compete for your headquarters, regulators think carefully before opposing you. On Mars, in the early years of colonization, your $10 billion makes you almost entirely dependent on one company, SpaceX. SpaceX controls the rockets. SpaceX controls the launch windows. SpaceX runs the primary power infrastructure. SpaceX manages the communication relays between Mars and Earth. SpaceX built the habitat modules. SpaceX is the government, the utility company, the shipping company, the internet provider, and the emergency services all in one. And here's the question nobody is asking. What happens when SpaceX decides to raise the price of oxygen? On Earth, if your electricity provider raises rates, you can switch, you can complain to a regulator, you can generate your own power, you have options. On Mars, in year 1, year 2, year 5, you have no options. There is no competing oxygen provider. There is no Martian regulatory body. There is no court that has jurisdiction. SpaceX has already written into their terms of service that Mars operations are governed by self-governing principles, meaning their own rules. Your $10 billion is an enormous number on Earth, but if SpaceX decides that the annual oxygen system maintenance fee is now $10 million instead of $45,000 a month, what do? You pay it, because the alternative is not moving to a competitor. The alternative is dying. This is the most profound economic insight about space colonization that almost no one talks about. The first monopoly in human history that is literally impossible to break, because leaving the market means leaving the planet. Now, to be fair, SpaceX has every incentive to not abuse this. A dead Mars colony is a failed Mars colony. Elon Musk's entire legacy is tied to Mars succeeding. He is not going to charge colonists extortionate oxygen prices. But he won't run SpaceX forever, and the institution he builds will outlast him. And institutions historically optimize for profit when competition disappears. You should think about this before you book the ticket. What do you do with $10 billion on Mars? Here's the flip side. And this is why this story is actually exciting. Your Earth money is essentially frozen. With a 20-minute signal delay each way, you cannot trade stocks in real time. You cannot attend board meetings. You cannot make split-second decisions in liquid markets. Your $10 billion, in terms of active management, is on autopilot. But on Mars itself, the investment opportunities are extraordinary. Land near the spaceport, the most valuable real estate on Mars, is cheap right now because there are almost no buyers. That changes exponentially as the colony grows. A greenhouse monopoly. If you own the largest food production facility on Mars, gives you leverage that no amount of Earth-imported food can match. Water rights, energy infrastructure, manufacturing, communications relay stations. The first people who become truly wealthy on Mars, not people who brought wealth from Earth, but people who built it there, will be people who understood this early. They won't be the ones who brought the most money. They'll be the ones who built the things that everyone else needed to survive. Sound familiar? That's how it worked on Earth, too. Let's come back to that number I showed you at the beginning. Getting there. Private Starship charter, $100 million. Personal cargo, $5 million. Journey operational costs, $15 million. Your address, land lease, $3 million. Dome construction and delivery, $65 million. Year 1 operations, monthly survival costs times 12, $4,990,000. Staff salaries, $11,500,000. Food imports beyond greenhouse, $2,160,000. Entertainment and MISC, $2 million. Medical infrastructure setup, $40 million. Emergency evacuation fund set aside, $20 million. $268 million in year 1. Out of your $10 billion, you have spent about 2.7%. You can afford it, easily. But now let's look at year 10. Your dome needs maintenance. Your nuclear reactor's fuel needs replacing, a process that requires Earth-manufactured components, shipped at the usual rates. Your staff rotate home, because even $2 million a year has a limit for how long someone will stay, and you need to recruit and retrain replacements. The colony has grown, which is good, but so has the cost of living, because demand for every resource has increased. And you are 10 years older, on a planet that ages your body faster than Earth does. By year 10, conservative estimates put your annual operating cost at $40 to $60 million a year, just for maintenance of the life you've built. Over 20 years on Mars, a billionaire operating at this level could reasonably spend $1 billion to $1.5 billion purely on survival, staff, and upkeep. You came with $10 billion. You leave, if you leave, with significantly less. But here's what you gained. You were one of the first 100 humans to live on another planet. You watched a blue sunset on Mars. You looked up at the night sky and saw Earth, a pale blue dot barely visible, and you knew that was home and you chose here anyway. That's not a financial return. That's something else entirely. On Earth, $10 billion buys you freedom. On Mars, $10 billion buys you survival and a front row seat to the most important moment in human history. The real question isn't whether you can afford Mars, it's whether Mars is worth affording. I think it is, but I want to know what you think. Drop it in the comments. And if you want to know who's going to make the first $1 trillion in space, not by living there, but by owning what everyone there needs, that video is next. Subscribe so you don't miss it. I'll see you in the next one.